Yep.
Good afternoon. This is the time for the Legal and Finance Committee meeting, July 10, 2024. We'll begin with the roll call and determination of quorum.
Beaverdorf.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Maher.
Here.
Seacrest. Here. Stroman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is adoption of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Seacrest, second by Bieberdorf to adopt the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Now we'll go to general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. And I don't believe that I have any speaker request forms, and so I am going to close general public comment and move on to consent items 1 through 10. The first item, I guess, is item number 1 is approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion on that?
Second.
Motion by Maher and second by Seacrest to approve the minutes of June 26, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we go to the Finance Department, and Director Ainsley, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Item number 2 is a volunteer that would be listed for the city's workman's comp purposes. Number 3 is the annual tax increment finance district TIF report. Just of note, there are 16 active TIF districts as of December 31st. 9 of those, though, are not yet certified, so they're still in the early stages. There were 4 that were dissolved last year. The total assessed value increase was $425 million from the TIF districts that are of those 16 TIF districts, which that is a tremendous increase in valuation. I don't think that can be overstated enough. That truly is a significant increase to the overall tax valuation of our community. The total assessed base valuation of the TIF districts is 1.44%. Why that is important is because state statute limits the total amount of assessed valuation that can be in the base valuation of TIF districts, and that is at 10%. So at 1.4, we have a tremendous amount of capacity for additional TIF districts. We're not even coming close to the total cap that's allowed. Item number 4, we would ask that the committee would table that. We are looking at changing those surplus items. Item number 5 is the downtown bid assessments. And then item number 6, we do have Jamie, I believe, in the audience, our director of the grants division. They successfully received a grant for $135,960 for some energy efficiency enhancements at the streets division, but she would be available to answer any specific questions if you might have. And then item number 7 is the assessment of 3 separate properties that had some nuisances that were cleaned up. There were 3 homes. One is for $380, another is for $575, and the last one is for $705. With that, are there any questions?
Anyone from the committee?
I move to approve.
Can we take out number 4? And okay, so there's a motion by Seacrest to approve 2 through 7.
Second.
Excuse me, except for 4. Okay. There's been a motion by Seacrest and a second by Evans to approve 2 through 7 except for number 4. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then can I get a motion on number 4? Okay, there's been a motion by Bieberdorf to table number 4. Second by Evans. All in favor? Motion carries. Now we'll go to the airport and Director Dane.
Councilman Stroman, members of the council, the item that we've got on the agenda here is for a resolution to reduce airport landing fees. This would actually be for both signatory and non-signatory. The airfield is a cost center that runs in whole. So we divide that up amongst the aircraft landed weight. Since we did this budget, would have been a year ago, March. The aircraft type have changed using the aircraft considerably from smaller regional jets to mainline, which means we have more landed weight on the runway. So with that, as we've seen the landed weight increase on the field, the expenses don't necessarily change, but we divide it by the amount of landed weight. So with more landed weight, that means that the dollar amount per 1,000 pounds that we charge goes down. So based on that, this is very good news in that. But for us to go through, we have to go through the board, council, and then our waiting period to be able to actively lower our fee as well as increasing any. So we're asking for your approval for us to lower both the signatory and non-signatory landing fees per 1,000 pounds.
Thank you, Patrick. Motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Sechrist to approve item number 8, the resolution to reduce airport signatory landing fee for September through December 2024. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll go to the fire department.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair, Committee. What you got before you is another request to write off some more uncollectible ambulance debt. First, I'll just kind of go over this one. It's another $600,000. What we're attempting to do is get rid of all of this bad debt off of our old software system. And it's been a long time coming. And if you go back, this is the 4th or 5th month in a row we've been doing some uncollectible ambulance debt. It's because we've kept them on the books way too long, and we want to get and expunge this system as soon as we can. We do have a new billing provider. They're a third party that we're using along with our internal two billing office folks. That's starting to work extremely well, so we have a new process in place. But what I wanted to get to was some of the questions that were brought up at the council meeting the last time we brought this. Statute of limitations for medical debt is 6 years in the state of South Dakota, and that's why you see these at 2017. We'll have to come with some 2018. We're both, Chief Long and I are both hopeful that we're getting close to the end of where we're needing to go back. But if you remember, about 4 months ago, we still had some debt that was showing from 2003. So our old system's old, it's antiquated, it's hard to get some of this information out of. So our new billing providers should be able to be more efficient at that. The other thing I want to go through is just real quick about ambulance billing in itself. Not very many medical providers have to provide service no matter what. Folks call 911, we respond. If they request to be transported, we transport no matter what. There's a good reason behind that. It's federal law behind that. State statutes are behind that also. But we don't have the ability to say no. I'll give you an example of a patient that I had one day called because they had a hangnail and they requested to be transported to the hospital. Honestly, could have taken care of it, and I'll tell you this now, since statute of limitations gone, I did. I helped that person. But if they would have requested to be transported, we would have had to transport. And then it's on us to determine, or it's actually the insurance company will determine medical necessity. And I'm sure all of you would agree that a hangnail probably doesn't medical necessity to be transported by an ambulance, but we would have to transport them anyway. The bill goes out to their insurance company if they have that. Obviously, they'll determine medical necessity is not there, so it'll go back on the patient and they're required to pay. We do a ton of effort in collections. So we have our own internal process. We will have our own internal billing department, which now is transitioning to a third party also. After 3 billings now, they will go to collections. We've been sending these, all of these have gone to collections, every single one of them. Now all of these are coming back and they are beyond the statute of limitations, so we're no longer able to attempt other than just continuing to send them an invoice or a statement every month. which some of these patients will have 10, 12, 14, 20 of them that are going out and billing. So we're just spending more and more and more money trying to collect that money, and we're never going to get it. So that's why this is happening. These should go down, hopefully. But I will just be bluntly honest with you that the ambulance business is a difficult billing business. It's a tough business to be in, and that's why a lot of the private providers have gotten out of the 911 service and why it's gone back into communities such as ours, because there's not a lot of money to be had there. Our income, if you look over the past 20 years, hasn't really increased much. The way we bill hasn't changed a lot, but the billing agencies or the payers have made it more difficult for us to get that money. Increasingly more difficult, more time constraints. We have to be faster. We have to ask for permission. IHS, for example, you have to send them notification within 24 hours that you've transported somebody that has IHS. But you have to know which tribe they're aligned with. If you don't know that, you potentially aren't going to get paid, and that happens quite frequently. So I just lay that groundwork for you, that I ultimately to tell you that we're doing everything in our power to recoup the money that is getting written off. And if there was more we could do, we would. We've got some of the best and brightest on the billing half of this, and we're doing about as best as we can, but it's still a difficult process, and a lot of that will not get much better. I mean, let's face it, the federal or the government payers, Medicare, Medicaid, they wholly underpay. Medicaid is excited when they give us a 2% increase, but a 2% increase on $100 isn't going to do us any good when it costs us $800 to $1,000 to provide the service. So just kind of wanted to lay that out there, because I know there's a lot of questions about us writing off that amount of money, and it is big money, and we take it seriously. It's the community's money. It's the city of Rapid City. If we could collect it, we would, but it's not something that we can actively go after anymore with any other means than sending them a statement. So, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Chief. We'll go to Kevin Maher.
Chief, I just have a couple questions. I think I've asked you this one before. If we have a delinquency on these bills, would the collection agency then report those to the credit bureaus?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. They follow all the rules that they can as far as medical debt.
And one other question. A lot of times the fire truck will go out with the ambulance. So when you say your cost is like $1,000, is that covering the cost of the fire truck?
That's not taking into consideration the fire apparatus going on those calls. That's a wholly separate side of the business. That would, and we have pared that down so much that those are only the calls that, from a 911 point, where when the patient calls or who calls, depending on what they're saying is the problem, whether we need that amount of folks to be there to help with that. So like a cardiac arrest, where you need more than just 2 people. You're going to need the fire guys there to be able to do the CPR. And every single one of our staff are cross-trained, so they can ride on either apparatus. So when a fire truck comes, they aren't just firefighters. They can jump on the ambulance, and so quite frequently we do that. There will be 4 people in the back of the ambulance. All of our people, at least 2 of them, will be paramedics, and so we're giving quite a service to the community.
Okay, thank you.
Motion by Bieberdorf, second by Seacrest to approve item number 9. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Go to the city attorney's office. Mr. Landine? You don't have anything? Or do you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 10 is per the direction of the council at the last meeting. I've done some modifications to the current council policies and procedures that clarify that in years where there's no municipal election, that the election of council, president, and vice president will take place at the first regularly scheduled meeting in July. I also added some language that, just to make clear that the president and vice president shall serve until their successor is selected. So I think it's clear there's wider changes that are needed in the council policies and procedures, but that's a much larger, longer term project. So I did kind of what the minimum was necessary to address the concern that was raised at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Motion approved by Sechrist, a second by Bieberdorf. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go to non-consent items 11 through 13. I'm going to open public comment, and seeing no speaker request forms, I'm going to close public comment on the non-consent items. Then we'll go to the Finance Department for number 11, which is introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6627 regarding supplemental appropriation number 4 for 2024. Director Ainsley?
I apologize, my laptop closed on me here. Yeah. I apologize for that. The item before you is a fairly small supplemental appropriation. The first one that is included is in regards to the library for some the final payments for the bookmobile that comes from undesignated cash. Within the public works, there's some reclassification. So not increases, just changing how the budgeted funds have been made. There is some additional charges for the police department in regards to some repairs that were made to police vehicles. And also within the water fund there and wastewater fund, there are some changes that go along with some of their capital improvement projects that they're completing. Are there any questions?
Motion to approve number 11 by Bieberdorf, second by Evans. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then we'll go to community development for number 12. It's approved resolution number 2024-032, a resolution to create tax increment financing district, and approved resolution number 2024-033, a resolution to adopt a project plan, property generally described as being located west of East North Street and north of East Anamosa Street. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a tax increment district request that would create a 252 affordable housing apartment project known as Camden Heights. Mr. Chair, you noted where the general location is. If you're on Anamosa Street headed towards Walmart, right before you get to Luna, just come back a little bit, and on the north side of Anamosa, there's some acreage there, and that's where this would be located. So in addition to affordable housing, something the city is desperately in need of, the location as well, so that it's hopeful that many of the occupants will have employment opportunities as well. There is a 60 AMI projection on these 252 units. Mike Dugan is the city's TIF planner, and he is here today to make a brief presentation. I would like to note that on May 9th, the Planning Commission vetted this request fairly well, and the recommendation you're seeing today is coming from them.
thank you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Today we're going to talk very briefly about the new proposed tax increment district known as Camden Heights Affordable Housing. The yellow here on this slide is the Rapid City limits. The little orange piece is where the proposed TID boundary will be for this proposed TID. This is a more close-up slide of this. The TID boundary, as you can see, East Anamosa runs almost directly through the middle of it, and off is East North Street. This TID is approximately 48.77 acres in size. So you can see right up through here will be where the 6 units, buildings will be of 252 units. Up here, which is unique to a project like this, it's going to be a solar field that will provide utilities or solar power to these apartments to drive down utility costs. This is a layout of the property. As you can see, there's 6 buildings totaling 252 units. 51 of these units are dedicated to senior living. And once again, to the top or to the north of the project is going to be this solar field. Utilities map or public works map of the project. As you can see, Utica Street is the main, or was going to be the public improvement here. These are the improvements running up Utica that will be put in for the project. This is the unit mix. They range from 1 bed, 1 bath units all the way up to 4 bed, 2 bath units. The average max rent per building or per unit, this includes all utilities, is $1,255. The proposed project costs, the capital cost is all the improvements done to Utica Street, which is just over $1 million. Just over $6 million discretionary costs and grants. The examples of what those are in this slide. And then the financing for this project with the total of $12,412 and or $155. The city is proposing financing this project. So those financing costs, the little over $5 million, would actually be recaptured back to the city. That can be used for numerous projects that the city has as far as road maintenance, water maintenance, sewer maintenance. That will be seen. The city is finalizing the documents with that and all the details. That will be seen legal and finance in August. Some site photos. This is looking out towards Rushmore Crossing. This would be looking west where Utica Street and the improvements there will be put in. This would be looking out towards Rushmore Crossing once again, and this is looking kind of out towards Anamosa. Or this one's, I'm sorry, the previous one was East North Street. This is East Anamosa. The projections, the anticipated base value of this district is a little over $9.5 million. The anticipated payoff period is 19 years. This one's a little unique in their projections. The base value they just used for their projections was just the property itself. The property itself is about 23.5 acres, which is a little over a $2 million valuation. That's what they use in their projections. Their projections, the slides that are coming up, are very conservative. Once again, this kind of outlines what I just said. The dark or the lighter brown there is just the site itself that's going to be the improvements on. That's what they use to determine the payback for this funding. As you can see, a majority of this TID is unused property. So anything that is to be built outside of this project will be recaptured back into this TID to make it pay back even quicker. The current zoning on this is a general commercial, office commercial. There's a piece of this is currently agriculture and light industrial, just for the TID boundary. Sorry. This is the timeline for this current TID. The substantial construction is estimated in November of 2026. November of 2027, they're anticipating this to be completely stabilized and leased out, with 2028 the first full year of stabilized operations. This is a slide demonstrating the increase of valuation from year 1 to year 20, which would be 2044, and the increment payments based on as the increment, as the valuation grows, the increment will grow. So this shows by year 20, a little over $13.2 million, which would be more than adequate to pay off the TID. This is the amortization, once again showing the repayment. This is a 19-year estimated payoff, which would be in 2043. The first 2 years of this repayment is capitalized. As construction and improvements advance in the project, the increment will start growing, and then the payments will start coming in 2026 to pay this down in full. The sources and uses, this total project is just under $80 million. The project sources, this is with TIF loan proceeds in there. So this is how the property is leveraged with the perm debt financing, and then all of the grants and the solar ITC equity and the TIF loan, how this is used to fund this project. This is without the TIF proceeds. As you can see there at the bottom slide of the slide, there is a shortfall. So if this TIF was not to go through, this project would fall short of the funds it's needed to move forward. In this last slide here, these units are at 60% AMI, and the TIF policy for affordable housing is 80%, so this is well within that. The last bullet point here, our policy states the affordable housing is to remain affordable for 10 years. In the documentation that the agreements, these are going to stay affordable for 20 years, which is the life of the TID. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilwoman Sechrist.
Thank you, Chair. Might have to give it to
Me again. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation and the overview. I serve as liaison to the Tax Increment Finance Committee, so just wanted to chime in here. I've vetted this entire project application, and in my mind, this is a really, really great example of a community public-private partnership where the city comes in and provides that gap financing where the need is there at a really conservative level of funding, just roughly $12.4 million. Obviously, some of that will be recaptured with the financing plan in place, where we're able to offer a reduced interest rate to the contracting company or the general company with what the banks are offering right now. I also love the senior housing component in this and the uniqueness of the 3 and 4 bedroom apartment options. I realize that we need single family housing in Rapid City, but with an apartment complex that offers some unique value to the community and accomplishing some significant gaps and filling those needs is really critical. So I just wanted to thank you and thank the community planning department for their work on this. I think it was extremely well written, and just appreciate everything you've done. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilman Maher.
Yeah, I think this is a great project. I just have a question about the financing. So early on, you said the city was lending $5 million. Is that, I guess I'm trying to understand that, or is the TIF itself will be financed? The money for that will come from banks, I assume, or?
The city will be acting as the lender in a partnership with the applicants. So the funding for the TIF part of this, the total package, will come from city. And then the repayment will come back to the city. So we'll actually, instead of, if it was financed by an outside source, the interest would be going to the outside financial institution, wherever they got their funding for. The city will actually recapture that financing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Sechrist and a second by Bieberdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I want to thank you also for the presentation, sir. Your graphics help explain where this is, and your photographs, your overheads. I know, and Vicki, maybe you can tell me, are we ever going to rename East North Street, or are we going to be talking about something west of East North I mean, when I used to do car accident cases, it was like, okay, car going south on east-north, other car heading west, and I'm like, and so are we ever gonna change the name of that street?
When we receive information from our first responders that there is confusion in finding an address, yes.
Okay.
But I will just remind the council that if you want to see this room full, send out notices that you're changing someone's address. It's probably the one thing that excites property owners more than most things we do here. So, but a good question.
Never mind, I understand now. Thank you. Next item, Ms. Hansel, are we going to hear from you on the Logan Simpson presentation, comprehensive plan progress report and update?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. As you all know, we're in the midst of an 18-month process to update our 2014 citywide comprehensive plan. We launched this project publicly earlier this spring, and we've been really busy getting the project off the ground. We're now a few months into it, and we really appreciate the opportunity and the time today to give you a quick update and sort of a status report on what we're doing, how it's going, and where we're headed next. So with that, we've got some project team members from our consultant group, Logan Simpson, and specifically Kelly Nauman will be giving you an update on where the project's at, and would love to hear from you at the end if you have questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you all. We gave this presentation yesterday, so that's why we have that 7/9 date, and we'll be giving kind of the same presentation to update you on the process and public engagement so far. So we'll go over that project schedule, looking at through summer of 2025 through the end. So we're still in those beginning stages of the process, but we're hearing things from the community so far. So our next discussion topic will be a public engagement update, what we're hearing online, what we're hearing in person. We did an activity with some youth from the Club for Boys, ages 11 to 15, so some of the results from that activity, and then going over some next steps. So for that project schedule, like Sarah said, we started this earlier this year and are now in that concept stage. So as we're hearing from the public, we're kind of putting those into key themes, figuring out what rises to the top as key priorities, and really vetting those public comments based on the technical expertise that we've heard from our community listening session so far, and some of that data analysis that we're doing behind the scenes. So what's in progress right now for phases 1 and 2? There is a dedicated project website, so that's rapidcitycomprehensiveplan.com. Up on that website is questionnaire 1. So we're asking what does the community love most about Rapid City, what elements or features define Rapid City, and what their future vision is. So what words would you describe that as? What are the elements that are opportunities for change in the future? So really getting that 10,000-foot view of those key priorities and themes, and then later diving into the more specifics throughout the process. We do have an arts showcase online that really has opened up the opportunity for the public to give us creative ways to give feedback. So not just leaving that up to a single platform like a questionnaire, but really giving people the opportunity to give feedback in multiple ways. We conducted 43 listening sessions throughout the last couple of weeks and months. Those have been with personnel from city departments, community members, many different folks that have different priorities, and really heard some of those more in-depth key ideas come from them. We've had 2 study advisory team meetings so far, and are looking to have that third around late July, early August timeframe. So for online engagement, as of the 3rd of July, we've seen 146 questionnaire responses. Those are growing. As we've done drop-in events this week, we're seeing those grow as well. There are almost 10,000 website total views, so that's great. We're seeing a lot of traffic on that website, so people are hearing of the process. And as they go to that website, they are coming back and wanting to be more involved. We also have an online ideas map. So that is really an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into locational comments. So which areas of town do people want to see specific things, different trail connections, different priorities, housing, things things like that. And so we've seen 44 responses on that so far. These activities will be open through the end of July, and we'll look at summarizing the key themes and public input through that time frame, whereas the ideas map and some of those art opportunities will stay open further than that to give people opportunities to engage throughout the process. Some of the drop-in events, we have some really fun activities. We have showcased some of the things that people are saying online of what they want their future to look like. We're giving them opportunities to do buttons, some fun activities, but then also diving a little bit deeper into key themes of what people want to see and opportunities for improvement. Yesterday we were at the family food truck night. That went very well. We got some great involvement there. We will be at the municipal band concert tonight, and then tomorrow we have an event as well in the evening. So some of those activities, how can Rapid City improve in the future? So looking at housing, parks and recreation, land use, and giving people opportunities to provide comments in kind of a quick way during those drop-in events to supplement that online questionnaire effort. So some of the things that we've heard so far, some of those fun questions of what elements or features define Rapid City. We're hearing a lot about the environment, so Black Hills, parks, bike paths and trails, Main Street Square, places that are iconic like Storybook Island. And then what do you love most about Rapid City? Parks and trails has really risen to the top, people and community, local businesses, and then some of those other options, history and historic resources and events and festivals are in those top 5. So as we're hearing some of these comments, we're hearing what people love most about Rapid City and then some opportunities for change. So these are some direct public comments. We'll need to vet these over the course of the process and really see if those align with the data from the existing conditions and whether they can actually be applicable to the comprehensive plan. But some things that we hear, some additional amenities like a skate park, some beautification efforts, street trees and cooling for that parks and trails element, in that people and community, looking at some resources for community members, an enhanced sense of community connection. So as we're looking at the comprehensive plan, what are some goals and policies that we can look at to try to address some of these things, and arts investment. So that's another key theme that we're hearing. For local businesses, looking at investment in underutilized areas. So how can we look at the future land use map throughout this process and address some of these things? Additional job types, and things like connection from neighborhoods to employment opportunities. As we go into what elements have the biggest opportunities for change, that top choice is improved infrastructure. So looking at how are we going to grow over the next 10 to 20 years? How will that be financed? And what connections between roads and trails should be added in order to make things better connected? And how do those connect to quality of life indicators? So that's some of the things that we're seeing talked about by the community. Housing and neighborhood character was very close to improved infrastructure for which element has the biggest opportunities for change. So looking at increased housing types, what kinds of housing types is what we're asking the community. And as we see more of those public comment, we'll be able to see what rises to the top. Looking at some of those housing developments with parks and open space. And then affordability is always a key theme that people talk about as well. Education was that number 3 choice. So school investment, that's been a big topic that's come up during the public comments so far, and we're diving a little bit deeper into that with the drop-in events and asking people what does that look like. And then libraries, heard a lot of support for the libraries, and what does community education in a variety of ways look like in the future as well. And then finally, land use and growth patterns is that number 4 choice, is very close to the top 3, so included it here. But looking at planned growth and wanting that proactive approach to growth. And so as we are seeing public comments, we can start to dive a little bit deeper into what areas of town, how that planned growth looks, and kind of vet those comments with city staff. So that public engagement process, Like I said, we've done a lot of one-on-one conversations so far. We also have that study advisory team, so that gives us a focus group kind of effort. And then we are conducting those community workshops and drop-in events throughout the process, but specifically this week. And then we'll be having some more citywide events, and those online activities will continue to be a part of the process throughout. The Arts Showcase, these are a few examples on your screen of what we've seen so far. So these can really highlight some of the things that people love most about the community. Art Alley, the natural environment. We've gotten some poems, some stories about parks and trails. So this can really highlight and help define that vision statement. We also conducted a comic workshop with youth earlier this week on Monday. And so that really gave us some ideas from the youth about what they want to see in the future. So some of the things that they expressed were places to find a hobby. So which areas of town, what are the types of amenities that can really cater to the youth? Opportunities to find out what kids are good at. So what does that look like in the future? What are those locations that kids can turn to? And places to make friends. And then we had a local artist come out and help frame this in a comic book activity workshop. So seeing what the kids really looked at for the future, but in kind of a lens that they could relate to. So some of the ideas are a superhero that fixes things without people knowing, a crime-fighting robot who helps the police turn villains good, Luke Skywalker who uses the Force to pick up litter. So looking at how can the community improve through youth ideas, and this really gives us some of that sense of what the kids are seeing and what their needs are. So looking towards the rest of the process, how to get involved. So that questionnaire one will be open through July 31st. The Arts Showcase, we're still encouraging entries. We have opportunities at the drop-in events for people to continue to submit. So those will continue to be bolstered throughout this week and through the end of July. And then those drop-in events are a fun activity for people to give quick comment. And then our next steps, the existing conditions. We've been looking at all of the data throughout all the elements for the last couple of months. And so that existing conditions report will be shared in the next couple weeks. We've also looked at the 2014 plan and other plans that the city has out now to see where those consistencies are, where the inconsistencies are, and what might need to change. All of the public input so far will be summarized in August, and we'll look to kind of bring that back to the community and say, here's what we've heard. Is there anything that needs to be added? Is there anything that it is not consistent with what you think? And having that showcased in a community mosaic sometime in mid-August. So with that, I'll open it up for questions, but thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilwoman Sechrest.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank you for the presentation update on the comp plan progress, and just share my experience attending one of the advisory committee meetings. I have participated in quite a few opportunities that you've had so far, and at one event you had jars available that we could select two of our greatest concerns for the community. So this was just an example of how we were soliciting public input on what we feel is important as our value system or needs for improvement. And it was alarming to me that the jar was almost half full of infrastructure. And there were other important community items also, whether it be economy or affordable housing or arts and culture or parks and recreation. I think it just speaks to the testament that our citizens really feel that that's incredibly important, that we invest in our citywide infrastructure. And obviously sewer, water, and streets aren't the most fun city projects, but they are very important and vital services that the city provides. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to acknowledge? Motion by Evans to acknowledge.
Second.
Second by Sechrest. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have an Alderman item. We're going to go to Bill Evans.
I just want to take a moment to thank the Parks and Police Department for the highly successful 4th of July celebration we had down in Memorial Park. It was a good crowd. We had no incidents this year, unlike a couple years ago when we had that unfortunate thing in the lake, which was not good. But this year went off without a hitch. The crowd was great, and I think it's getting to be a great community tradition. She mentioned the municipal band. This is our 105th season. Amazingly, I've played in 53 of those. Seems like yesterday I just started. But I'm really excited to have the planning people down there in the park. Are you going to have a tent or a booth? And this is a crowd that tends to be highly involved in community activities. They understand the need for recreation, everything, and they also vote. So I think it's great that you're out there doing this project and bringing this to the people so they're aware of this. Because I'm pretty sure most times when cities do plans like this, 90% of the people don't even know what's going on. So at first I had a hard time getting my head around what this art thing was at, but now that I see it being executed, I think it's a really great creative idea and a way to involve all the citizens. So congratulations on that. So, oh, and by the way, tonight our guest soloist is going to be the world-class violinist Maya Buchanan, who she won the Chicago Symphony Concerto competition back in 2017, and so she's maybe stepping down a little bit from playing with the world's greatest orchestra to playing with our band, but I think it'll be an exciting night for everybody all around, so hopefully we'll have a big crowd for both things. Thank you.
Got a motion to adjourn by Sechrist, second by Bieberdorf. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.